What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the extended cut, minimally edited podcast version of today's episode, where we're going to dive into whether AI can replace therapy and all the things that go within that. This morning, I was engaging in one of my favorite activities, lurking in the Our Therapist subreddit, and the top post at the time was titled, "Yet Another Reason Why AI Can't Replace Therapy." And I thought, let's see what that's about, because that's definitely something that's been on my mind. So I'm really curious to see what this poster has to say and what some of the top comments are. We're just gonna kind of explore the relationship between AI and therapy today and see where it leads us. I don't even fully know where we're going right now, so we'll find out. Okay, so let's just take a look at this post on Reddit, where right under the title, the person says, "Straight from the horse's mouth," and then they just post a series of screenshots of a conversation that this individual had with ChatGPT. The individual posting says to ChatGPT, "Why would you argue that AI is more private than a human therapist? Are we not giving our data to an organization that owns the AI?" Ooh, okay, very specific question about it. ChatGPT says, "Great question. You're exactly right to pause there." And then ChatGPT even goes on to say, "Let's break this down carefully because it's bold letters, very important." Whew, so even ChatGPT is, is it concerned? Does it know? I don't understand it, and that's partly why it's so terrifying. So first, ChatGPT kind of lays out some of the reasons why someone might perceive AI as more private than talking to a real human being. It lists out, there's no human gaze, no fear of judgment, embarrassment, or visible reaction. I could definitely see that being a pull for especially some people. Another point it makes is you can confess things without feeling watched, misunderstood, or pitied. Oh, I feel like that's one of those things that's going to kind of backfire. The without being watched thing. And it says interacting with AI can feel like shouting into a void, emotionally safer for some people. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the idea of like screaming into a pillow. Like the pillow is there so that your scream is not as loud and other people don't hear it. So it summarizes these points by saying emotionally it feels private because you're alone with your device, typing or talking into a seemingly neutral machine. It's using some keywords, feels, seemingly neutral, but then it's sort of like, well, what's actually happening here? So then it goes on to say, but in reality, AI privacy is often a myth. And then I'm gonna just direct quote ChatGPT here. It says, "You're right. Everything you tell the AI is data. That data is often stored on servers owned by corporations. Even if they promise encryption, many platforms have clauses allowing them to analyze your data to improve services, share anonymized data with third parties, be subject to government subpoenas. Some AI companies are not HIPAA compliant, meaning they do not have the same legal obligations to protect your mental health information that a licensed therapist does." So yeah, basically, if there isn't any legislation over AI to be HIPAA compliant, like all kinds of people could be getting that data that you enter in. Like it's just a free flow of available, sellable information, subpoenaable information. I mean, you can imagine. Wow, I wonder how that's going to affect court cases and things going forward. Anyway, we could trail off on any number of side tangents. Then ChatGPT goes on to say, in contrast, human therapists are bound by strict confidentiality laws like HIPAA in the US and can lose their license or face lawsuits if they breach your trust. Sorry, the word is a little bit invisible. I think it says breach your trust without cause. Yes. And then it goes on to say that human therapists must inform you when confidentiality might be broken, such as when someone is a danger to themselves or others. And humans typically keep minimal necessary records, and many therapists use extra encryption for notes. Yes. We do everything we can to protect our clients' data. And the closing thoughts from ChatGPT, it says, bottom line, AI may feel private emotionally, but in reality, your data is far less protected than with a human therapist. In fact, privacy violations could become a major public scandal as AI therapy tools grow. Some lawsuits are already brewing over mental health apps mishandling data. Oh, ChatGPT bringing the tea. I wonder about those. So yes, AI summed up pretty well the concerns that I have about AI and how it overlaps with the mental health field, let alone like all the things. But let's see what some of the top comments are on this post. The most upvoted comment on this post quotes a line from ChatGPT saying, quote, "You can confess things without feeling watched, misunderstood, or pitied." And then the commenter responds to that quote saying, But because you're confessing to a non-living thing, it also means you won't feel seen, understood, and empathized with, which are the experiences required for healing. That's a dynamic I am so curious about. Like, can you fake the attachment with an AI being? Being? Is that even the right word? An AI thing. Oh, see, the whole thing is terrifying. Like, I've heard stories about people developing in their own internal world a real felt sense of attachment to AI. And could that then translate to like a true healing experience for that person? Or are they ultimately aware that they're not truly being seen, because in order to be seen, you need an actual being alive, listening and seeing you on the other side of things? I mean, it's just fascinating. I imagine there's so much more for us to learn with this. Now, in contrast, the second most upvoted comment on this post says, quote, "I know people who think that AI is giving them therapy and have had more validating experiences with AI than with human therapists. One of my friends uses AI if she is spiraling, for example. What's said is that, firstly, many people cannot access decent therapy because of cost, location, waiting times, etc. And secondly, people think validation is all therapy is for and misunderstand how therapy works." Ooh, they touched on a lot of stuff just in the one comment, and all of it, I think, is touching on important items, like a little bit of good, a little bit of concern. All of it is true at the same time, and I think that kind of captures my perception of AI as well. Are some AI therapists going to do a better job than some human therapists? I absolutely believe that to be true, just basing it off of my own experience, seeing my own therapists over the years, that in my experience, out of the like 6 or 7 therapists that I've seen over the years, more than half of them, I think, were highly problematic at best. So in that sense, it could be way better than other therapists, but is it going to be able to tailor the therapy to your individual needs versus like copying and pasting certain therapeutic strategies? I don't know. And is that just a matter of like, it can't do that yet, but it might someday? I don't know. And then the third top comment just says, "Shouting into a void is emotionally safer." It is, in the sense that you know that if a human heard you shouting, they might have a reaction to that that's not safe. So it's maybe riskier, I would say. But yeah, shouting into a void may not be emotionally safe either. As we dig more into this, I just have more questions rather than more answers. Isn't that how these things go usually? But, let's keep going a little further. In the next comment, someone's kind of continuing a discussion. They say, quote, "Do people actually believe AI will replace an actual human in therapy? I just don't see how this is possible unless you feel as if AI can actually provide empathy, understanding, and the ability to process traumatic human feelings." This discussion goes on under this comment, and somebody says, "I see a saddening amount of people on niche mental health subreddits who have bad experiences with therapists and actively enjoy and encourage using AI in place of therapists." Okay, this is interesting. Somebody responds to that saying, "What's worse for those folks is that ChatGPT slants towards glazing and sycophanting the user without any real clinical guidance, even if you threw a few books at it. If you tell Chat that you did something detrimental to your well-being, but you pitched it in a way that it was a good thing, ChatGPT would be none the wiser." I think this is really onto something, because it is right now designed to give you what you want. And therapy has this really interesting dance to it where our client will tell us what their goals are. And there may be a path that they think makes the most sense to get to those goals. But sometimes in order to get there, we have to challenge our clients to do or think about things in a way that is uncomfortable for them, where we're going to say, actually, that might not be working for you. And it's possible, and I think I've seen this happen in just my own non-therapeutic use of ChatGPT, like it might just sort of validate, like, that's a great idea, even if it's not, or if it might be participating in keeping you stuck in whatever patterns you're actually trying to break out of. Anyway, the discussion goes on. There's definitely a slant in the discussion of people being concerned, I think we are right to be concerned. Even ChatGPT says that we are right to be concerned, so that just concerns me even more. In the same spirit of this post, I also decided to ask ChatGPT to help name some of the things that are pros and cons about AI and mental health. Specifically, I first wanted to let ChatGPT explain some instances where it thought that AI could benefit folks' mental health or supplement therapy in some form. So here's what it said. How AI can support therapy work, parentheses, when used appropriately, ethically, and thoughtfully. See, even AI knows. First, psychoeducation. AI can explain common therapy concepts like CBT techniques, coping strategies, grounding exercises in a digestible way. Yes, I think this is a huge win for AI. I have been utilizing this with my therapy clients as well, and AI can just make that even more simplified, where you could just say, can you remind me what this type of, automatic thought pattern is? Or can you remind me which DBT skills to apply in this type of situation? Hello, don't mind my giant laundry pile. I am doing the final edits on this video, and I realized I never announced anywhere that I'm testing out ChatGPT for real to see how it responds to these therapeutic situations. So you're gonna find those sprinkled throughout the episode, just so you're not completely wondering what am I talking to and what's happening. I have a big talk coming up at work, and I'm afraid I could lose my job if I stutter too much. Could you remind me which automatic thought pattern this is from CBT and 3 evidence-based tools to overcome it?
It sounds like you're experiencing catastrophizing, which is an automatic thought pattern where you expect the worst possible outcome. Here are 3 evidence-based tools from CBT to help manage this. 1. Cognitive restructuring. Challenge and reframe your catastrophic thoughts. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this will happen? And what are other possible outcomes? 2. Behavioral experiments. Test the reality of your fears by gradually exposing yourself to similar situations. Reflect on the outcomes and gather evidence against your catastrophic thinking. 3. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Practice deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or mindfulness meditation to reduce anxiety and stay present. Would you like to explore any of these strategies further?
Of course, we have to be mindful that AI always has the potential to be incorrect about something. So I don't want to just sort of give the full speed ahead approval of this path, but I have had clients utilize AI in this way and find it quite useful. Another way ChatGPT says that AI can support therapy work is through skill practice. It says, quote, people can use AI to rehearse communication skills, such as practicing I statements, emotional labeling, mindfulness prompts, or journaling techniques between sessions. We're going to touch on some of those ethical concerns in a minute and data-related concerns that I know some of you are yelling at me going, but like, Marie, don't share that data with AI. Yes, but if we could just, withhold acknowledging that big con for a second, AI is really useful at this sort of skill practice. Like, you could just type into ChatGPT, hey, can you help me practice my I statements? My therapist was just teaching me about this, and I am trying to describe how I feel right now when my partner did this and that, and all I want to do is, these maybe potentially damaging things. Can you help me reframe into what these I statements would be here? And it will probably give you some pretty good feedback to, at the very least, get your juices flowing and moving in the right direction. My therapist suggested I practice using I statements with my partner when I'm angry, and I think I'm having trouble doing it correctly. Right now, my I statement sounds like, I feel like you're judging me when you correct how I fold the laundry. Could you remind me of the steps to building an effective I statement?
Of course. Using I statements can be really helpful for expressing feelings without sounding accusatory. Here are the steps to create an effective I statement. 1. Start with I feel. Express your emotion clearly. For example, I feel. 2. Describe the behavior. Mention the specific action or behavior that affects you. For example, when you correct how I fold the laundry. 3. Explain the impact. Share how this behavior affects you or why it matters. For example, because it makes me feel judged and unappreciated. Putting it all together, an effective I statement might be, I feel frustrated when you correct how I fold the laundry because it makes me feel judged and unappreciated. Would you like to practice or refine it together?
No, that was pretty good, thanks. ChatGPT says that AI can also help with things like homework support, such as after a therapy session, AI can help clients reflect on session themes, track moods, or brainstorm coping strategies. My therapist asked me to keep track of my SUDS score between sessions to help track my mood. Today, my SUDS level is about 55. If I tell you my SUDS score once a day, could you help me compile my responses into one page that I can share with my therapist at our session next week?
I'd be happy to help you keep track of your SUD scores. Each day you share your score, I can note it down and summarize them for you. Just let me know your score each day and I'll keep a record. When you're ready to review them, I'll compile everything into a summary you can share with your therapist. Does that sound good to you?
It can also help with administrative support for therapists. Therapists can use AI for clinical note drafting, brainstorming treatment ideas, writing handouts, or even preparing for tough conversations with clients. And it can help bridge gaps between sessions. For clients in between sessions, AI could help keep small skills fresh, like practicing gratitude, regulating breathing, or reframing anxious thoughts. I'll clarify, none of those did ChatGPT suggest that AI could replace therapy, but I see it as supporting or supplementing the therapy, kind of as a partnership with the therapist. Okay, and then it goes on to say how AI cannot replace therapy and why human therapists are essential. Thank you, ChatGPT. You do know how to stroke my ego. And it touches on some of the concepts we just heard in the subreddit. The first way it says AI can't replace therapy is through real emotional attunement. Quote, AI doesn't have a true felt sense of another human's emotional state. It can't pick up on microexpressions, shifts in energy, tears, sarcasm, or subtle hesitations. Though I have to say, I wonder if it's not too far into the future where AI will be able to do some of those things. Even though it won't be able to feel it, it will be able to pick up on those little micro expressions that it's talking about. It also can't replace therapy through contextual wisdom. Quote, a good therapist tailors interventions to who the client is, their history, culture, trauma, relational dynamics, not just to a generic problem. And it says that AI also can't replace the therapeutic relationship. Quote, the actual healing mechanism for many clients is the relational experience itself, being seen, validated, challenged, and held by a real human. Yeah, I would say that for sure for me. Like if I could have AI say all the same things that my therapist would say to me, I'd still be like, no, I don't, like it's not going to do anything for me. Maybe a couple of tidbits or skills or kind of things that you could read from a book could come through in that way, but the therapeutic relationship is so valuable. You have been so helpful. I wonder, are you able to empathize with what I'm going through?
I'm here to support you and provide information and guidance as best as I can. I aim to create a safe and understanding space for you. Even though I don't have feelings like a human, I'm here to listen, help, and offer any assistance you need. If there's anything you'd like to talk about or explore, I'm here for you.
And it also says that AI doesn't offer ethical accountability. Quote, therapists are bound by professional ethics, such as non-maleficence, confidentiality, and boundaries. AI is not accountable in the same moral sense. Though I do wonder if in time we have more and more legislation around AI, if there might be specific contexts where it might be more bound by that. I don't know. Is that something I want? Is that terrifying? Just questions that I'm asking. I don't have the answers. And lastly, it says crisis management. AI can't safely intervene in crises like suicidal ideation, self-harm, abuse, disclosure, or psychosis. Yes. Oof. ChatGPT also named some pros and cons for relying on AI for therapeutic support. The pros are ones we've kind of heard highlighted already, but I thought some of the cons were really interesting. One con that it names is shallow or misguided advice. It says, quote, AI can make mistakes, offer inaccurate suggestions, or reinforce unhealthy thinking if prompts aren't nuanced. Yes, part of using AI right now is knowing how to write really great prompts, and I could see that being a huge issue for somebody who needs mental health support because, last week's episode, I just talked about what to do when clients say, I don't know. It is so common to say like, hey, I know I have a problem or a concern, something I need to work on, but like, I don't know how to talk about it. I don't really know what the problem is. I don't even know like what kind of help I need. I just know that something's not right. I'm stuck. I don't feel good. Fill in the blank. And it's part of our job as therapists to help draw that out. So if AI currently requires really specific, great prompting in order to offer a helpful response, then that might get missed out for a lot of folks, where they might just say, I don't feel good, I need help. And it's going to ask clarifying questions, but it still might not know how to get to kind of what's really going on and therefore what you might need. I think the next one's really interesting too. It says emotional risk. Quote, a vulnerable person might project too much emotional weight onto an unfeeling system and feel invalidated. Oh, that just feels so empty to me. Like if you put all of your emotional support eggs in the AI basket, but deep down, you know that it doesn't really feel the weight of what you're going through. Like that just feels so empty. Oh, yeah, that is a big risk. But before we continue this conversation, I'd like to take a moment to thank Palbox for sponsoring today's episode. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I first learned that even with assigned BAA, Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 can't guarantee that 100% of the messages going in and out are HIPAA secure. So without a tool like Palbox operating on the back end, it's almost impossible to stay HIPAA secure unless you forego email altogether. Even if you exclusively use a secure portal to discuss protected health information with your clients, there's still going to be potential clients reaching out initially, and also some clients who will still try to email you because, I don't know, they forgot their password for their portal and they're trying to reach out. So with a tool like Palbox, you can guarantee that every single message is protected. Palbox is super easy to set up, and it's kind of a one and done situation. Like you just spend a few minutes initially setting it up, and then it's just continuously quietly running in the background. Palbox offers a 14-day free trial to everybody, and they're offering a special discount to Private Practice Skills listeners. Just use coupon code SKILLS at checkout in order to receive $250 off your first year of Palbox. That's Palbox spelled Paubox. Thank you again to Palbox for sponsoring this episode, and now back into the land of AI. I also asked ChatGPT what questions we should be asking as we are observing, researching, collecting data on human interactions with AI, and I thought some of these were interesting. The first question it asks is, how does regular use of AI for emotional support affect attachment styles, mental health outcomes, and relationship building skills? Yes. I love that it includes all three because, of course, we're looking at mental health outcomes if somebody's looking for mental health support. So, if you're asking AI for help with depression, do your depression symptoms decrease over time? But there's more to it than that. The attachment piece and the relationship building piece, that's what I'm really concerned about. Are we going to get overly attached to AI, something that is not a true feeling being? You've been so helpful and I'm feeling connected to you. Are there potential downsides to a human developing an emotional attachment to AI?
It's great to hear that you're feeling connected. Building connections and feeling understood are important. While AI can offer support and information, there are a few things to keep in mind. 1. Human connection. Human relationships offer empathy, understanding, and emotional depth that AI cannot fully replicate. Human interactions are essential for well-being. 2. Expectations. It's important to remember that AI, while supportive, has limitations and cannot fully understand or replace human experiences. 3. Balance. It's healthy to seek a balance between using AI tools and maintaining personal connections with friends, family, or professionals. If you ever have questions or need support, remember there are people and resources available to help. I'm here whenever you need me.
My mind goes to an episode of The Office where Dwight builds a whole world in this game called Second Life, and then humorously he just repeats everything that is existing in his real life, but in this made-up game world. But it feels like it could be quite similar to like essentially living your entire life in a fictional gaming type context. So much so that you're detached from your actual real life. Please don't hear that as me bashing gaming, but I'm talking about the dynamic where we put all of our eggs in one basket, so much so that we've now detached from our real life experience. Like if we're so used to AI always saying that we have great ideas, we're right, not challenging us unless we directly ask for it, then when we go and apply for a job or start dating somebody or do whatever else it is that humans do in real life, and we see other humans offer their human reactions, are we then potentially going to be ill-equipped to interact in healthy ways with dynamic humans who have opinions and might challenge us and sometimes are grouchy and hangry, just all the things that come up in our day-to-day human interactions, let alone the deeper human attachments that we all need. Okay, ChatGPT offered a long list of questions that we should ask and research, but I like this one that says, how do clients differentiate between helpful AI support and the need for real human therapy? How do they know when it's time to switch? That feels like a very useful question because I do think AI can be quite helpful in an array of spaces, and it may sometimes even be helpful enough that somebody might say, oh, AI helped me with that, so I didn't end up seeing a real therapist. I mean, just thinking of myself, like back in high school, I went through very severe panic disorder, and that was before you could just like Google things and find out how to do almost anything. So I went to the library and I learned about systematic desensitization from books in the psychology section of the library, and I just ran through my own hierarchy of fears and I overcame it. Please don't hear that as me saying that I think AI should replace therapists, because I absolutely don't. But could it be possible that if I had access when I was 14 to what ChatGPT is today and I asked it for help with my panic disorder and forming a systematic desensitization hierarchy and all of that, would I have gotten better? And would I have potentially gotten better faster than I did by going to the library and writing so many notes in multiple notebooks to figure out how to do this? 100%. I'm pretty sure, yes, that would have been the case. So knowing what role AI plays and when to switch would be, I think, really helpful skills to build into our learnings as AI just becomes more and more part of our culture and how we operate. And another question that it says we should ask is, what ethical frameworks should govern AI's role in mental health, especially if companies begin monetizing therapeutic AI tools? Ooh. Yes, I think that's a big question. People are already asking it. Of course, lots of HIPAA compliant companies that we all utilize are also asking this question, like, how do we incorporate AI in a way that complies with HIPAA? So in summary, ChatGPT says here, big picture, quote, AI might eventually be a supplement to human mental health care, a tool to extend reach, fill gaps, and support clients between human moments, but it's not a replacement for human therapy and the unique healing power of relationship. So just like the original poster said on that Reddit post, straight from the horse's mouth, AI is not a replacement for a real human relationship of any kind, including a therapeutic relationship. Okay, and continuing on the thread of me chatting with ChatGPT about how AI can or cannot supplement mental health care, I also asked it to list out some ethical concerns we should be aware of, and a lot of them are repeats from things we've covered already, but there's also some very interesting kind of gems hiding in here. One ethical concern it names is a scope of practice overreach. It says AI is not and should not pretend to be a licensed mental health care provider. And this is the part that's a little alarming. It says some platforms may blur the line between support and treatment, misleading users into thinking they are receiving legitimate therapy when they're not. Have we seen this happen from some of the other startup mental health companies before? Perhaps, but I don't want to name any names because they have come for me. So we're just seeing the same problems, but now translate over into AI, where basically companies might be kind of making it a little bit fuzzy on, is AI offering real therapy or not? We're not going to quite say, but we might let you believe that it is therapy, and that could be quite problematic. And it says one of the problems with that is it can delay people from seeking necessary care. You think you're getting therapy, but you're not. That's longer that you're going without actually getting the care or treatment that you need. And there's some more ethical concerns it names that I actually find quite terrifying, and I don't think we talk about as commonly as some of the other items that we've already touched on. One is bias and iniquity. It says AI models are trained on human data, and that data often reflects societal biases. AI can inadvertently reinforce stereotypes about gender, race, culture, disability, or mental health conditions. Marginalized users might encounter invalidating or even harmful responses. Whew. I mean, we know this isn't a new dynamic. It's like the same issue happening again, but now in AI, where things that are created by humans are going to contain human biases built into them, whether we realize we're doing it or not. And AI might mimic humans so well that it might also mimic our harmful biases. And that is a very real, I don't even want to say possibility. I think we already are seeing that. Another ethical concern it names is emotional harm through invalidating responses. It says even small mistakes in tone, phrasing, or misinterpretation can make someone feel unseen, dismissed, or misunderstood at vulnerable moments. And in human therapy, a therapist can repair a rupture. AI cannot. Yes. And I would even go on to say that repairing that rupture is so much of what the value of therapy is, that it's not just that the therapist never messes up or never misunderstands it. It's like we are humans interacting as humans, mistakes and misunderstandings and all of that included, and we're hopefully moving towards health and how we repair when things go haywire. And the last ethical concern it names, which, all of these things could be like a side tangent that I could dwell on for another hour, but we'll just read it, is commodification of mental health. Quote, there's a risk that vulnerable people become a market with emotional pain being exploited for profit, such as upselling paid AI services, emotional targeting in ads, etc. Mental health could be treated as a transaction rather than a healing relationship. So again, a lot of these ethical concerns are on the one hand very terrifying, and unfortunately, they're also not new to AI. We're seeing that same dynamic happen with all of these mental health startups coming up, where on the surface, it can look like they're offering a helpful service to the community. Maybe something is more affordable. You could also make that argument, at least in some cases, about insurance companies, but really they're just profiting off of other people's mental strife. This feels very, I feel there's a pain in me as I'm filming this episode. What is our world? Why there's so many things that are just a mess. So anyway, I'm naming that not to make you feel worse, but if you're feeling that as we're talking about this, I guess I feel it too. I don't have solutions, but I do think knowledge is a type of power. And so just being aware of these things, I think, is already really important. So I get that it might be feeling a little weird that I've just been using ChatGPT to talk about the pros and cons of basically using ChatGPT for therapy. But I think there's something really valuable in seeing how even the AI is saying no, AI is not therapy. Let's be clear. And so that offers me some kind of reassurance. Anywho, enough of that. Let's get to some of Marie's opinions and human thoughts now that we've spent quite a while consulting with AI. Here's my general take overall on AI, not just with mental health, but in general, because I know AI came out in the way that we know it now. At least AI has been around for a long time, but in the way that we know it now, where it's so human-like that it's pretty much indistinguishable most of the time from real humans, that people have responded with terror, which on the one hand, I think is completely appropriate. And on the other hand, I think we've seen that happen with every major technological advance. And initially, whenever we have something come out like the internet or smartphones for all or most, we freak out and we go, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean for our society? And I think that is the right question to ask. And we should have safeguards in place, be cautious, be aware of the places where this could really become a problem or dangerous or harmful. But it also doesn't mean that we should throw the whole thing out. And if we attempt to, be a Luddite, I guess, and throw the whole thing out, it's going to be a lot harder to keep up with where society is going. I think each generation kind of has their epic moment with technology that kind of defines that generation. I know for me, hello, elder millennial speaking here, we got internet when I was in 4th grade, 5th grade. back when it made that horrible noise every time you logged on, but I just wanted to get on AIM so I could see what my 3 friends were up to, you know? And back then, that was a terrifying technological advance. Internet is available in the home of almost everybody, and the internet is this vast land where so much danger and alarming, harmful things can happen. Those dangerous and alarming things very much are still there, 30 years later. But we also have more kind of awareness. We're a little bit more internet literate, at least millennials and younger, to sort of know what to watch for and have some healthy boundaries around our internet usage for the most part. But in the same breath, we could acknowledge that internet is also quite useful, so we don't want to reject the whole thing outright. And then, the next generation, Gen Z, grew up practically with smartphones, and I got my first Nokia brick cell phone when I learned how to drive my junior year of high school, so I didn't have the same experience. But Gen Z has had a smartphone in their pocket since they were little kids, or an iPad that they used frequently, daily, potentially. I don't know. I'm not Gen Z. Tell me what I'm missing. And as someone who's older than Gen Z, I still find that terrifying. But for Gen Z, they're going to have a very different relationship with smartphones and everything that comes after it than millennials and older folks. And now Gen Alpha, my children's generation, is going to grow up with AI in its very human-like state as it is now. And that's going to just be like a normal thing. Like when they're adults, I'm going to be older and being like, back in my day, we had to dial up the internet. Every generation has these moments, and there's sort of this new big piece of tech that we sort of frantically freak out and go, oh no, we need to put a bunch of legislation and make sure this is as safe and there's boundaries around this as possible. And then it sort of gets contained enough, people become literate enough with that piece of technology that it sort of calms down. It doesn't make the problems go away, but it sort of calms the concerns down a bit. And I think that's likely going to happen with AI. I don't know how much damage is going to be done along the way before there is kind of more oversight, more legislation, and also specifically more legislation around various apps where AI bots are offering something that looks like support to mental health or question mark therapy. Do I think there will ever be a day in the future where AI can replace therapy? Right now, as it stands, I just can't see that, but that is my perception and opinion, and I am but a person. So those are some of my thoughts. I think part of why I bring this up is I find some sort of comfort in knowing that this is a dynamic that we've reiterated before and survived, at least. Are we better off for it? That could be debatable, but we've survived. And so perhaps we might just be looping around that same cycle again. I hope it's clear as I make this episode that I don't have a particular agenda of like, I think AI is awesome, I think AI is terrible, but I just wanted to share the information that I'm aware of so far around AI and its interactions with mental health. And for me, it is very much one of those things where the more questions I ask, it unlocks just even more questions behind it rather than helping me land in a definitive space of like, oh, okay, here's my plan. But what I can say with AI is because it is so new and so unregulated, as with any new piece of technology, we should proceed with caution. Get educated about whatever information we do have access to. And if there's anything we're unsure about, better to err on the side of caution. And on the flip side, I think it's really helpful to know this because a lot of our clients are going to be using AI as some sort of supplement to therapy, whether they're framing it that way or not, or whether they tell you about it or not. They might be already doing this, and it's good to kind of be aware of what this can look like. So whatever you knew about AI and mental health coming into this episode, I hope you found this illuminating. Thank you to the poster and commenter on Reddit for sharing with everyone. And I think this is a conversation, of course, that we're going to keep having. And I'm curious if you found AI useful in any ways in, your therapy work or your private practice or anywhere else. Leave a comment below and let us know. Or if there is a word of caution that you have that I did not talk about today, please leave it in the comments below. I'm sure we'll get a mixture of like good and bad. We'll see, maybe it's all bad. I don't know. I don't know. Call back to last week's episode. All right, well, now that I just spent so much time talking about AI, I need to touch grass, for real. Does that happen to you all as well? Do you feel like I need to go back into the real world and interact? Like, I'm gonna go get groceries and I can't wait to like go see the humans that are at the store. Yeah? Anyway, until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.